Kia ora everyone. So I'm going to show you today how to prepare your image that you found on the internet or that you've drawn or that you've created and get it ready for engraving onto your board. Whether it's your mini board or your full-size board, this technique is exactly the same, just a few differences in terms of scale, obviously. So let's get started. So firstly, we are going to look at setting up our Illustrator file, right? So we're going to start over here, and we're just going to choose any file type. In fact, actually, let's not do that. We'll start with just a new file, right? And then here are our options. Choose one that says print, ideally. I'll choose one that doesn't say print, just so to show you what the options are. So I'm just going to choose letter here, right? And actually no, sorry, I'm just going to go new again. If I choose letter, notice that on the side here we've got some options, and so we're going to change some of these options. So first of all, the color mode. This is the most important part. Make sure this is RGB color. Right, so the color mode is this one here, and we might just change this to 72 points per inch, and then we're going to go over here to look at the units, and we're going to choose millimeters because that's much easier to deal with, and that's it. So we're just going to create it, right? So here's our file. So when we look at this file, we're going to import an image onto it, but we want to make sure that the image is the right size. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this our artboard, which is this white area is called our artboard. We're going to make that the size of our board to begin with, right? So we'll go over to properties and look at our artboard tool. And what we're going to do is we're going to change over here in the top right hand side, we're going to change the values for the size of the artboard. And so let's say that we're going to start by making a test for our mini board, right? So we're going to test doing some engraving on that mini board, see how that goes. So the mini board is going to be, let's say, 50 millimeters wide, and it's going to be about 200 millimeters long. Let's say that. Right, so press enter, and so this is the basic size of our board. So now we're going to put our image on. So we're going to go and we're going to place two different images. So I've prepared two different images, one that's going to work basically and one that's not going to work very well. So this one here, this is going to work totally fine. Even although it's very, very detailed, what's good about this image is that it's got really clear distinction between the black areas and the white areas, and it's not too pixelated for the size of it. If we look at this, on the other hand, this is an example. So it's also a very complex image, but what's the problem with this is that it's very noisy and not a very high quality image. It's very pixelated, and there's not a very clear distinction between the darks and the lights, the whites and the blacks. So we'll see when we get to this how that works. So let's go to File and Place, and we'll do the one that will work first of all. Just going to go and find it. Here it is here. Right, so we're going to place that image here. You can see it's a much bigger image than the other one. So just going to zoom out and make this smaller. Now notice that I can change this in all sorts of different ways. I can change the proportions of it. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to hold down the Shift key, make that smaller. Right, so now I can zoom in. Let's move that up to here, and let's say we want to make it as a nice big image on the board. Now, what's the other thing to think about is this is not an ideal image for this shape, because it leaves a lot of white area, unless that's what you want, of course. Alright, so here we are. We've got our image. We've got this vector stock thing down the bottom. We don't want that. So over in, if you are on the Properties tab, and you've got this image selected, notice that if you click somewhere else, it changes what the properties options are. So if I click here, I can choose to crop image, and then just go okay there, and then all I need to do now is just move this up to, let's say, there. Right, so that's good. So now we're going to apply that, and now we're ready to go, right? So you might be like, oh, well, I'll just print it, or I'll just engrave it the way that it is, but you can see it's actually quite pixelated, even although, and this is a pretty good image, it's still quite pixelated. So what we're going to do is we're going to use image trace to clean our image up. So I'll just zoom in so you can see what happens when I do that. So click on image trace and choose black and white logo, and it does its little calculation, and so here we go. So now you can see no matter how far I zoom in, this is a perfectly crisp image. Right, so if I come back out, I can now I could now expand it exactly the way that it is, but actually I want to look at changing some of my options here. So for example, if you look up here, let's just zoom into this area. So previously this was a nice even circle. I want to get back to a more even circle than this. So I can change my threshold. So this is about how much of the black images or black parts of the image it converts into a vector. And I can also change the number of paths. This is about the detail that we're getting. So the more detail that you put in, the more complex your image will be, but also the better that the result will be. So that's looking pretty good, right? So now all I need to do is choose to expand that, and let's go over here to the object menu and choose image trace and expand. Right, and so now this is an actual real Illustrator object that you can edit, and that's, you know, perfect. It's a vector image. No matter how far you go in, it will never pixelate. Right, so now that's one that works, right? Let's see what happens if you use an image, a poor quality image. So I'm going to go to open, and not open. I'm going to go to File, Place, because we want to place this image onto the onto our artboard, and here it is here. Place that, and I'll just click here, and so you can see to begin with it's a smaller image than the previous one, and already you can see that it's pixelated, so it's not a very good quality image. So it does matter, the quality of your image and the type of image that you get really does matter. But you know, we set it up like this, and then we go trace, right? So you can also go to Object, Image Trace, and Make, like that, or over here on the Trace menu. So you can see this is not going to work very well, right? So far, so we could try fixing it up a bit by bringing the threshold up. Now we can see some sort of image, but you know, the detail's completely gone, and it's just not very good. We could add more detail, I guess, but even if we do that, you know, it's not great. You can play around with these a little bit, but you'll see very quickly that the image that you started with is very dissimilar to the image that we end up with. And so there you go. That's pretty much it. So the things to take away from this are, first of all, you need to start with a really high quality image. That's the first thing. Secondly, the procedure is pretty simple. Just place your image, go to the object menu, and choose image trace and make. Don't choose make and expand, just make it first, change your options, and then expand it, and then that's done, right? So you can then save it, and you're now ready to laser cut that or laser engrave that file. I think that's it. So hopefully that was helpful. Good luck with your engraving. There's other videos that show you how the actual engraving process works using the engraver or the laser cutter, but yeah, that's for another video. All right, ka kite.